In a powerful display of strategic realignment, Russian President Vladimir Putin arrived in Tehran for a landmark summit with Iran's top leadership. This meeting, coming at a critical juncture in the Ukraine war and amidst escalating global tensions, transcend routine diplomacy. It represents the formal consolidations of an alliance forged in shared adversity, a partnership built on mutual opposition to the United States and its allies. The reception for the Russian president was meticulously orchestrated to project strength and unity. He was greeted on the tarmac not just by diplomats, but by senior commanders of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, signaling that the core of this summit was centered on military and security cooperation. The subsequent meetings with Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and the Iranian president underscore the depth and seriousness of this burgeoning axis. This gathering in Tehran is not merely a response to recent events. It's a calculated move to reshape the geopolitical landscape, sending a clear message to Washington that the era of uncontested American influence is over. The agenda for the summit was comprehensive, covering economic, political, and, most critically, military collaboration. The primary focus was on deepening the defense partnership that has already had a significant impact on the battlefield in Ukraine. For over a year, Iran has been a crucial supplier of unmanned aerial vehicles, particularly the Shahid series of loitering munitions, to the Russian military. These drones have been used extensively to target Ukrainian energy infrastructure and military position. The discussions in Tehran reportedly moved beyond sample sales to a new phase of co-productions and technology transfer. Intelligence reports suggest that plans were finalized to expand the network of factories within Russia that are assembling Iranians' designed drones. This move is intended to make Russia's supply of these effective and inexpensive weapons immune to interdiction, creating a vast and resilient production base that can sustain a high-intensity conflict for years to come. Even more alarming for Western observers is the finalization of an agreement for Iran to supply Russia with its formidable arsenal of short-range and medium-range ballistic missiles. While drone attacks can be mitigated by air defense systems, ballistic missiles present a much more severe threat. They travel at much higher speeds and on more challenging trajectories, making them exceptionally difficult to intercept, especially for Ukraine's already strained air defense network. The potential transfer of missiles like the Fateh 110 and the Zolfaga family would give Russia force the ability to conduct highly precise and devastating strikes deep inside Ukrainian territory with a high probability of success. For Iran, this represents a major step. Providing such weaponry is a significant escalation and a direct challenge to the United States and Europe. In return for this high-stakes support, Iran is securing its own long-term security interests. The other side of this military equation is what Russia provides to Iran. A key topic of discussion was the expedited delivery of advanced Russian military hardware to the Iranian armed force. For decades, Iran's military, particularly its air force, has been hobbled by international sanctions, forcing it to rely on aging American and Soviet-era aircraft. The summit finalized the delivery schedule for multiple squadrons of Russia's Su-35 flankers E-fighter jets. The Su-35 is a highly capable fourth-generation plus aircraft, appear to the most advanced fighters in the arsenal of Iran's regional rivals, including Israel and Saudi Arabia. The introduction of these jets would dramatically alter the military balance in the Persian Gulf, giving Iran a credible air defense and deep strike capability it has lacked for more than 40 years. Furthermore, the talks include the transfer of other critical Russian military technologies. Discussion reportedly covered advanced air defense systems, potentially including the S-400 Triumph, which would make any potential airstrikes against Iran's nuclear facilities or military base an extremely risky proposition. Collaboration on satellite technology, including both surveillance and communications capabilities, was also on the table. This would provide Iran with a strategic view of the Middle East that it currently lacks. In a sense, the Tehran summit solidified a quid pro quo of immense strategic importance. Iran provides Russia with large quantity of effective battle-tested and relatively inexpensive weapons for the war in Ukraine. In exchange, Russia provides Iran with high-end advanced military technology that secure the Iranian regime against its regional adversary and fundamentally change the security calculus in the Middle East. Beyond the exchange of weaponry, the summit cemented a deepening economic alliance designed to render Western sanctions ineffective. Both Russia and Iran have spent years developing economic strategies to survive under intense financial pressure from the United States. Now they are combining their expertise and resources to create a sanction-proof economic bloc. A central pillar of this strategy is the full operationalization of the International North-South Transport Corridor, or INSTC. This massive trade route, which uses a network of ships, railways, and roads, is designed to connect Russia to Iran and then onward to major markets like India. Its primary strategic advantage is that it completely bypasses traditional maritime routes that are controlled or monitored by the West, such as the Suez Canal. By activating this corridor, Moscow and Tehran can trade freely with each other and with other friendly nations without fear of their goods being seized or their transactions being blocked. It is a direct challenge to the economic order that has been dominated by the United States and its control over a global financial system. To support this physical trade route, the two nations are also building an alternative financial architecture. This involves abandoning the US dollar for bilateral trade and using a combination of their national currencies, barter arrangement, and potentially a new digital currency backed by their combined resource. This effort at de-dollarization is a direct assault on the foundation of American global power. The ability of the United States to impose sanctions effectively relies on the world's dependence on the US dollar and the SWIFT international payment system. By creating viable alternatives, Russia and Iran are not only insulating their own economies, but also offering a model for other countries that wish to reduce their vulnerability to American economic pressure. The discussion in Tehran includes coordinating their energy policies, aligning the two energy superpowers to manage oil and gas flow to non-Western markets, and to stabilize price in a way that benefits their national budget. The reaction in Washington to the Tehran summit has been one of deep concern and intense strategic debate within the Trump administration. President Donald Trump has publicly framed the growing Russia-Iran alliance as a direct result of the failed policies of his predecessor. In a statement from the White House, he asserted that the endless and costly war in Ukraine had needlessly pushed Russia into the arms of Iran, creating a dangerous new axis that now threatens America's interests on multiple fronts. President Trump reiterated his commitment to ending the Ukraine conflict and focusing American resources on confronting more direct threats. He suggested that a different, more pragmatic approach to foreign policy would have prevented such an alliance from forming, arguing that his administration will now have to clean up the mess left by years of what he calls globalist interventionism. At the State Department, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, a longtime and outspoken critic of the Iranian regime, condemned the summit in the strongest possible terms. He described the deepening military cooperation as a grave threat to international peace and security. Secretary Rubio warned that Iranian missiles in Russian hands would lead to immense suffering in Ukraine, while advanced Russian fighters jets in Iranian hands would destabilize the entire Middle East and pose an existential threat to America's key ally, Israel. He announced that the State Department was working with allies to prepare a new, tougher round of sanctions targeting the entity involved in the military and technology transfer. However, he is navigating a complex political environment, balancing the need to appear tough on Iran with President Trump's overarching goal of reducing American foreign entanglement and ending the war in Ukraine. The Pentagon, under the leadership of Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth, is focused on the concrete military implications. Secretary Hegseth has ordered a full review of the force posture of American troops in the Middle East. The presence of Su-35 fighters and potentially S-400 systems in Iran requires a recalculation of American military options in the regions. Planners at U.S. Central Command are now facing a far more capable and dangerous potential adversary. Secretary Hegseth has also briefed the National Security Council on the impact of Iranian ballistic missiles on the Ukraine war. His assessment is that these weapons could accelerate the collapse of Ukrainian defenses, confirming his view that continuing to arm Ukraine in its current state is becoming strategically untenable. He sees the Tehran summit as further proof that the United States must disengage from Ukraine and preserve its military strength to deter this more formidable, consolidated bloc of adversaries. The American intelligence community is working to understand the full scope of the agreement made in Tehran. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard presented a sobering assessment to President Trump, highlighting how the policy of dual containment against both Russia and Iran has failed. Her analysis pointed out that instead of isolating and weakening the two nations, American pressure has given them a powerful incentive to cooperate on an unprecedented scale. Director Gabbard has argued that this outcome was predictable and is a lesson in the unintended consequences of an overly aggressive foreign policy. He has reportedly advised the president that military threats are unlikely to break the alliance apart and has recommended a new strategy that seeks to exploit potential fissure between Russia, Iran, and their other partners, like China, through diplomatic and economic means rather than confrontation. The economic dimension of the alliance is the primary concern for the Department of the Treasury. Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent is leading the administration's efforts to counter the Russo-Iranian plan to bypass the US dollar. His department is tasked with developing new financial tools to disrupt the international north-south transport corridor and to penalize any third country institutions that facilitate trade through this new alternative system. However, he faces a significant challenges. The more the United States use sanctions as a tool of statecraft, the more incentive it gives countries to find ways around them. Secretary Bessent is in a race against time, trying to preserve the effectiveness of America's most powerful economic weapons while adversaries are actively building a world where those weapons no longer work. Ultimately, the summit in Tehran has drawn new, sharper lines in the sand of global politics. It signifies the maturation of a strategic partnership that was once tactical and opportunistic into a deep, long-term alliance. This axis of the sanction, with Russia providing military technology and a nuclear umbrella, and Iran providing mass-produced weaponry and ideological fervor, presents a complex and enduring challenge to the United States and its allies. The implications are immediate for the war in Ukraine, where the influx of new and more powerful weapons could prove decisive. The consequences are equally profound for the Middle East, where the balance of power has been irrevocably altered. The meeting between Putin and Khamenei was more than a handshake. It was the cementing of a new bloc on the world stage, one that is determined to challenge the old order by any means necessary. Many of my listeners, like 70%, haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, and so many of you don't even know that you haven't subscribed, and that is actually what makes the show going. It's almost like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask again and again, because it enables us to grow and grow and grow. And we're going for the long haul here. And listen, if this is your first time listening to So Came Rich, you don't have to subscribe. You guys, you're first ones on me. But if you have watched this show before, it's like you are a freeloader now. So all I would ask you is, if you have seen this show before and you like it, help me, help my team here. Hit that subscribe and like button now, and we will continue to build the show for you. That I swear. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. That's all for me for today. I will see you soon. Bye for now.